First of all, there's the old Pittsburgh. We have 3 coaches in 50 years, mantra. Look at how stable we are. Look at how wonderful we are. It's the Steeler way. We don't. Well, if I'm Tomlin and I know that they don't fire coaches, I could just pull my pants down and just take a dump right in the middle of the 50-yard line, and they're not going to do anything.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Donut Bag, part of the Pulse Podcast Network and the Pod Hub Network. Well, it happened. The Steelers won, but the Browns didn't, so they're out of the playoffs. With me to talk about it and basically to vent for a good 45 minutes is Mark Hagelauer and Shaun Leeper. And yeah, it's just a season's worth of complaining and venting and crying. So yeah, it was therapeutic, but it still hurts. Anyway, the Donut Bag starts right now.
Steelers beat the Bengals, but Browns bumble. So now the Steelers are probably out of the playoffs. And I've ran out of words to start with B. With me to talk about everything is Mark Hagelauer and Shaun Leeper, who's at Shaun Leeper 11 on Twitter. How you doing, guys?
What's up?
How's it going?
Oh man, I too much is going on. That's what's going on.
So many emotions.
I feel like I played in the game. I'm just drained.
Well, let's talk about the game real quick. I mean, even though they barely beat the Bengals 16-13. Now, the Steelers have everything to play for. The Bengals have absolutely nothing to play for, and it came down to a late fourth quarter field goal to win.
And they played with their training camp roster.
Because
there was like 8 guys out, 10 guys out. My God,
everybody that they cut at the end of training camp, they brought him in for just this game, and they still almost beat the Steelers.
Good Lord.
What does that say that they could barely beat a team that had nothing to play for?
I mean,
I personally, I've been the biggest Tomlin supporter throughout, all these years of underachieving, and today this game had me feeling like it's just got to be time for a change. I mean, like you said, we were basically playing against a JV squad with the Bengals, and yeah, we didn't have Antonio Brown, but that's no excuse. The Bengals didn't have Dalton, their top 2 receivers, their starting tight end, perfect DBs. I mean, they had more excuses than we had, and we just came out flat. Like we.
It was like Oakland Raiders game flat. It was terrible.
Yeah, right.
It's just been so inconsistent with that all year, and that goes. I've said many times in the past, I'm not a Tomlin hater. I haven't been rooting for him to be fired for years and years, but when's enough of this underachieving enough? Because it's just these important games, boneheaded decisions. I mean, if you go back to the Saints game and the going for it on the fake punt, I mean, there's just all kinds of stuff all year that make you scratch your head. And I was saying too, if anyone watched the pregame, Bill Cowher said the same thing. He said that the Steelers 7-2-1, they got complacent, and that's exactly what it looked like.
Yep.
And they kind of got, I wouldn't say lazy, but just we'll go out, probably be able to win the game. And, if the coaches have that attitude, then it rubs off during practice. And if it rubs off in practice, it rubs off in the game. And I don't know. That's kind of how I feel about it.
Here's what I think. I think it all comes down to me, it's all one word: arrogance. That's it. It's arrogance to think that they think they could just walk all over Oakland. They think they could just walk all over Cincinnati. And what you need to realize is these are professional football players that spend their lives playing the game. just because Oakland is 3-10 or whatever the heck they are, that doesn't mean they're not trying. That doesn't mean they're not good. It just means that, I mean, literally, I think it all comes down to it's a game of inches. And when you have things like this where Tomlin teams are notorious for playing down to their opponent, and you have something like this, it's just consistent. They consistently play down to their opponents, and it's ridiculous. Yeah. And like you said, Shaun, you could be even the biggest Tomlin supporter has to be. It's going to be hard to defend him right now.
Yep. I don't remember the exact stat, but I'm pretty sure I saw somewhere where it said, and since Mike Tomlin's become the head coach of the Steelers, they've lost more games where they've been double-digit favorites than any other team in the league.
Oh yeah, I think even in the NFL and the history of it, there was like some sort of record of however many games there were that the teams lost, and I think the Steelers have like 75% of them of the losses.
Right.
So yeah.
And like you guys said, I mean, I'm not at practices, so I don't see how they prepare, but I think it's an arrogance thing too. I mean, trying to me, it was with the Oakland game, it was trying to see, can we keep Ben out to not risk injury and have Josh Dobbs win us the game when obviously, was he hurt? Maybe, but Ben could have went back in and played and shored up a win, and they were just cocky. And I think a little bit today, it was probably the same thing with Antonio Brown.
He probably could have played, I bet. I don't think he was like that and needed to sit.
Right. And, I was talking to some people who are diehard Steelers fans I watch games with every week, and we were saying, would Hines Ward have sat out this game, with a knee injury like that? Probably not. And I don't know the severity of it, but, I just think I agree with you 100% that there is that little bit of an arrogance that maybe comes with Tomlin-led teams.
I mean, they probably thought we don't need to risk Antonio Brown because it's just the Bengals. Meanwhile, it's a division foe, and they would love nothing more than to knock the Steelers out. So
absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, if you play Brown and you get a big lead, then you can rest him. I mean, even if he's just out there as a decoy, he's taking at least two guys with him. So everyone else is going to be open.
Yeah, I mean, and we don't know how severe the injury is. So who knows? Who knows about that? So I put up a poll. What's the biggest reason for the Steelers missing the playoffs? And I made the choices: Le'Veon Bell, the defense, coaching, or other. Right now, coaching is winning 59%. And I mean, the Oakland game is a huge example of that. We could have played Ben. We decided not to because basically, let's call it like it is. They figured, it's just Oakland. We'll win with Dobbs. We'll be fine.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, even if Ben plays and he's handing it off, he's back there. It's a lot different of a look for the defense to do that than have to worry about Dobbs, who's thrown, 5 passes ever or something until then? Maybe not even that many.
And it's just an even worse look when Ben comes into the game and goes 7 for 7 on that drive and marches them right down the field,
Yeah. And I mean, I didn't have enough choices, but okay, so I had the choices: Le'Veon Bell, defense, coaching. You could have had the kicker.
Yeah, through the kicker.
And you could have had Ben. So, if any of those things were a little bit better, if Le'Veon Bell shows up, if the defense was a little bit better, how many times did they just give up game-winning drives at the end of the game? So many games. The Chargers game, the Oakland game, I believe Saints. The Denver game, the Saints.
Yeah.
Like, it kept happening over and over again. They could not get a stop. Here's another one: no turnovers ever.
Yeah. Turnovers, yeah.
Yeah,
no, they're not getting them at least. Yeah.
And obviously, you don't want to put this as an option in a negative context, but Ryan Shazier, him not being there is, I think, is huge. I mean,
that defense was built around him. He was the one guy who couldn't lose like that.
Here's the thing.
Totally.
Here's the thing. So,
and I think you could put the coaching and the defense one and the same, because I think talent is there. They've had extremely good first halves in all these games that they lost, and they had leads in the fourth quarter. So I think whatever they were doing, they stopped doing. They changed what they were doing to maybe be a little safer.
Or the other team made adjustments, and the Steelers never adjusted back. Yeah. They never changed anything.
Yeah, and in the fourth quarter with those leads, they're probably playing. I mean, it wasn't really, I wouldn't say 100% of a prevent defense, but they definitely changed what they were doing. And most of the games, except for the Patriots game, probably is the one they didn't do that for, and they won it. So.
Yeah, and you look back at the Chargers game, and they consistently kept having a linebacker covering Keenan Allen because they refused to change their scheme and man him up when he was in the slot.
I think it's a scheme flaw, and it comes from some of that older LeBeau / Butler defense now that I don't think you can really pull that off in the NFL anymore.
Well, let's talk about Butler. So, people are saying, so basically everybody's saying it's the coaches. Okay, the coaching, they're blaming the coaching. But let's be realistic. Tomlin is not getting fired. I would say the chances of him getting fired are maybe 1 or 2%. Maybe. Not even that.
And that's a flaw of the owners then, because you got to hold these guys accountable a little bit.
And let me ask you guys this: what do you think the chances are heightened? Obviously, Joe, it doesn't sound like you think so, but do you think the chances might be heightened with a guy like McCarthy, who's a Pittsburgh guy out there on the market?
I don't know.
It's possible, but
I mean,
here's the thing. There's two factors at play here. First of all, there's the old Pittsburgh, we have 3 coaches in 50 years, mantra. Look at how stable we are. Look at how wonderful we are. It's the Steeler way. We don't. Well, if I'm Tomlin and I know that they don't fire coaches, I just pull my pants down and just take a dump right in the middle of the 50-yard line, and they're not going to do anything. Like at some point, there's one thing to say for stability. For another thing to say is that you could just do whatever the hell you want, and they're never going to fire you.
Yeah, it goes back to that Cowher quote about being complacent. He knows that he's not going anywhere. Yeah. He's not in any danger, so is he really is there any urgency? I mean, gosh, look what the Penguins did. They had good regular seasons like the Steelers. They had failed in the playoffs with 2 of the best players in the NHL. They finally got rid of Bilesma, and they brought in someone new, and it paid off big time for them. So, I mean, maybe it's the same situation, and I mean, this isn't a knee-jerk reaction. People say that doesn't happen in the NFL. NHL goes through coaches like crazy, but this has been he's been 12 years now, maybe the coach, something like that.
Yeah.
I mean,
12
and
years.
they haven't been back to the Super Bowl since 2010. So.
Yeah, that's the thing is people always bring up the fact that he's never had a losing season, and there is some merit to that. But look at the rosters he's had. I mean, I'd expect most coaches in the NFL not to have a losing season with arguably, if not the most talented roster most years, a top 3 most talented roster. And like you said, Mark, underachieving a little bit.
There's the mantra, but he won with Cowher's players. And when I hear that, at first I said, you know what, screw you. But now I think there's some merit to that. He won. He didn't win with Cowher's players. He won with Cowher's defense.
Right.
And
leadership. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they haven't had that. Ben's like the only guy out there right now that has any of that still left in, or maybe Pouncey.
That's the thing that annoys me the most about this team. They act like they've done something, and they haven't done crap. Just because you won some games in the regular season, stop acting like you're. It's not just the arrogance of the coach.